Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transforming Today Show. I am your host, Rebecca Weintraub, and I'm an intuition coach. I help people discover, develop, and strengthen their intuition. And today I have Ronne Ozgu with me. How are you, Ronne?
Hi, Rebecca. I'm doing great. And hello, everybody else. Hope you're doing great too.
That's awesome. So, Ronne, first tell us, how do you help your clients?
Well, the first beginning stages are somebody will reach out to me. They know I'm a health coach, a health and lifestyle coach, really. And they will reach out to me saying, hey, I've got these health goals. Usually it's related to shedding some weight, achieving an optimal weight, helping themselves with, some people have some pretty serious health conditions related to weight. But not everybody. I work with people who also just want to get a little bit more in shape or tune up their habits. And, they're saying, I don't have anything wrong now, but I'm getting a little worried. I may in the future, and I want to tune some things up. So primarily I'm working with people to achieve an optimal weight, but it's a lot bigger than that because we're really not talking about the scale primarily. We are talking about mindset. We're talking about digging into things that cause certain eating habits or certain behaviors, things like that. We're talking about forming a whole new set of really awesome lifelong habits of health and habits that will, just have you shift what you're doing now and then eventually become automatic where you almost don't even have to think about it. So by the time you've shed the weight you want to shed and your body's where you want it to be, your health is where you want it to be. So many people come off of medication and they're reversing health conditions that they had. So it's an incredible, really satisfying and amazing process.
I love that. And this is like near and dear to my heart. I've told you before, this is like weight and body image and all that kind of stuff is like really something I've struggled with my entire life. And I've had my own journey, but I'm really curious about yours, Ronne, how you were led into this type of coaching. What did your transformation look like?
So I hope you have some time. It starts off similar to what you just said, and so many people that I work with have a similar start to the story where, struggled with it. So myself included, I way long ago, I just turned 50 this year, by the way. So many, many moons ago, I used to be an ice skater. So at that time in my life, very fit, very in shape, all this. High school years, stopped skating, and then started the yo-yo up and down struggle with weight, and really have had it my entire adult life. I've pretty much tried everything out there. Have tried things on my own. I have always been a voracious reader about health and fitness and nutrition and things like that. I've always had an interest in it anyway. And so I thought, making healthy choices most of the time, not always. Fast forward to a few years ago, I started to really have some health problems that came out of nowhere because I was pretty much living a healthy life. Even though I would struggle up and down with the weight, I still believed that I was making healthy choices, things like that. And then I started to have some serious issues going on. Heart condition. I had an autoimmune condition, Lyme disease, and then, as I alluded to, the age-related hormonal things started to happen. And as one doctor who, I was going to doctor after doctor after doctor, nobody could kind of really put it all together and figure it out. The one doctor who really started to help me, she said to me one day in a meeting, a consultation, she said, basically your body has gone off of a cliff. So she identified all these issues that I just spoke about and started one by one addressing them medically she actually really helped me really quite a bit, make a huge, huge improvement. But really, truly, I had no ability to sleep. I was not allowed to drive. I had absolute fatigue. I had cognitive impairment. I had heart problems. I had joint pain. I had everything. It was like I literally aged overnight out of nowhere because I'm a very youthful, energetic person. I always have been. And it stopped. And I became a shell of who I was. But this woman, she finally got my body functioning again, little by little. And I started to feel pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. Meantime, over on another side, my sister-in-law had also struggled with her weight, all that, and she started a program. So I finally reached out and I called her and I said, "Hey, what are you doing? What is this thing you're doing? Like, it looks like you're having great success." So she told me about it, and I said, "Okay." I've tried everything out there. I mean, really, all the programs. I've tried my own. I've, worked with nutritionists, all this. Nothing's worked. I don't know why this will. And she says, "Well, there's a coaching component to it, first of all." And she said, "There's other parts about it also, that there's a whole community of support, an education component. And really, we teach you these foundational habits that if you really do this work and you take this with you the rest of your life, this will work." So I said, "Okay, I'll think about it." I thought about it and I said, "You know what? I'll try it and let's just see how it goes. What do I have to lose?" Well, I knew what I had to lose. It was a lot. But you know what I mean? I did. And, I'm a rule follower. So I read everything. I followed everything. And lo and behold, and I was a slow loser, as I call it, but I started to just feel great. And some of it, yes, was related to losing weight and ultimately achieving my optimal weight where I am now. But it was so many other things that are a lot less tangible than a number on a scale. It was my energy was back. I was sleeping again, so I was allowed to drive again, because I wasn't even allowed to drive because of the insomnia. I was being treated for that. I was able to think. I was able to do all the fun things that my husband and my friends and my family, we all like to do. I came back to life, literally. So some of it was, yes, the doctor helping me and getting me started, but this was where, reducing the weight and then just the energy and everything that, kind of literally brought me back to myself, was. So, it's sort of that compilation of a typical story of somebody really just having challenges with this for whatever the reasons are, that your body is your body. And it does give you those challenges like so many people have. It was just like literally an on switch for my metabolism. And that's sort of how it works. So my sister-in-law, who was my coach, she said, "You're already a life coach." She goes, "You would be great at this." And I said, "Well, I have a busy job and all this stuff." And so, I thought about it, but I didn't act on it because I didn't want to take on too much. So I thought, I'd just been through years of health challenges. I don't need to overdo it and go backwards. Come March, I turned 50, as I mentioned. And my husband and I went on a nice trip to celebrate. And I was really doing a lot of reflection. And I said, what do I really want to be doing with every hour of every day for the next 50 years? And on that trip, I was thinking about it and talking it through with my hubby. And I said, I came to coaching and teaching. I love coaching. And I was a little bit more operational in my job than doing coaching one-on-one or coaching in groups or anything like that. And I love teaching. I actually still do assistant training for the coach training program. It's actually IPEC. Maybe a lot of you have gone there who are watching this. So I came to that conclusion, and this was in my mind about the health coaching. And I just felt like, what? Somebody helped me feel the way I now feel. I've got to do this for other people. I've got to be part of that. A big word for me is impact. I want to impact people's lives for the better. And when something happens, when you achieve a goal like this, where it starts off with shedding weight and helping your health situation, it's actually a catalyst for much bigger changes in your overall life. And I thought, if I can play a role in doing that for others, I'm getting chills talking, like just saying it right now, because that lights my heart on fire. So I decided to do that, and here I am. That's what I'm doing every day, and I absolutely love it.
That is absolutely fantastic. It's, we are so privileged when we have a dream, when we're able to manifest it, and then it's like not only do we achieve a goal or achieve like a dream, or we're living in our dream, but to be able to just like sit there and have the gratitude that you're able to do that. Like, and it's funny because with weight, it's like I've probably lost and gained over 1,000 pounds in my lifetime. And how many times have I lost weight and never appreciated the weight that I was at or how I was feeling or the things that changed. And so when you set this goal of helping other people and you're at the point where you've gone through this and now you're like, it's directly relatable to the clients that you're helping. And
Right.
like, I think I can relate. Like, do you ever, after a coaching call, do you ever just like sit there and like maybe look up and be like, I can't believe this is my life? Like,
Okay, yeah, you just gave me chills again because yes, that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Or you get the text from a dressing room. You're not going to believe this. Like, and that's the thing. I think I alluded to it before. Yes, the number on the scale is an important thing, and that's how we measure it and we gauge our progress or not. But that's a small part of it. It's those what we call non-scale victories, right? Getting into that dress you never thought you'd wear again, or actually, I'll share this. In my case, getting ready for my birthday trip, and God love my husband because I made him come with me. But I said, I'm 50. I'm about to be 50, and I'm gonna get in a bikini again. And I was like, would you come with me? That brave man did come with me to the bathing suit store. And you know what? I bought 2 bikinis and I wore them proudly on the beach that week. And I texted my coach and I said, you're not going to believe this. And it's like, I haven't worn a bikini since college, and that was the skinny year in college, right? So the one probably skinny year or summer. But it's things like that, or it's like, wow, I actually could run around with my grandkids last week at the family barbecue. I've had a client say to me, or just a story after story after story. And I actually will share this about my sister-in-law, the one who introduced me to this. She needed to lose weight. She lost about 40 pounds and just went for her yearly checkup. And if she had not done this, gone through this process, her doctor found a tumor in her abdomen. And for the better part of this last year, they tried to remove it with surgery. It could not be removed. It was intertwined with blood vessels, things like that. She ended up, they tried to treat it with medication. That didn't work. It grew and grew and grew. She ended up being at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. I went out there twice to take care of her. From February through the middle of July. And the team of doctors there, she has had 6 rounds of chemo. It's shrinking. She still has a very long journey. But they said if you had not lost that weight, you would not be here today because it wouldn't have been detected.
wow.
And it just did other things in her, to her body that helped her fight it, or maybe better than it would have. And I've heard other testimonies like that, but that's really near and dear to my heart too. And I think a lot of what ultimately drove me to go into this, because if I could be the person that even stops one person from having a situation like that, where it didn't turn out as well as it looks like it's turning out for my sister-in-law, then I want to be that person. And I want to help people with this because this is serious stuff. Some of it is like the body image and things that I know I struggled with and you just shared that you have too, but some of it is literally life and death. And I just feel like if I can help that person, and by the way, we're helping their family and their friends who love them because we're saving them, in a case like that. So it's pretty deep for me, this stuff, you might be able to tell. And I can't believe I actually got through that without crying, but it's just incredible. And her mindset is so important to her healing too. And that's part of all of this process that I love working with people about is really shifting their mindset. That's a coaching thing anyway, but so it comes naturally too, but it's a big, big, big part of people's success.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that. And I'm so sorry that that was happening. And it sounds like it's going in a fantastic
It
direction now.
is.
So I'll personally pray for her and I'll pray for
Thank
your
you.
family. But, it's interesting that you kind of brought in the mind stuff at the end. It's like, there's such a physical component to it, of course, right? Like if we can't function in our bodies, like we're not just limited, but we could be to the point of disabled or yes, even death. But then there's the mental component too. And there are a lot of people who are overweight or just don't feel very good in their bodies or about their bodies, that this is really a mental issue too.
Yes.
A lot of people, like depression is oftentimes connected a lot to people who feel that they're overweight, or maybe they are technically overweight by our metrics that doctors, kind of lay out for us. But, it really does affect our mindset. And it's actually interesting that, let's say you were a certain weight, you got down to a certain weight and then you gained 30 pounds. Well, you might lose 5 or 10 pounds and you might even feel better than you did before you lost the 30.
Right.
It's like something like when you start going like the reverse trajectory and you start feeling better about yourself, and you're really present and you're in tune with what you're capable of now versus a pound ago or 5 or 10 or 50 pounds ago. Like the weight almost doesn't matter. It's more about that mindset where
Yes.
there's a shift going on. Can you kind of talk about, like, maybe if you've experienced that, but also how your clients have been experiencing that shift?
Yeah. And that is where I said, like, the weight part of it is just, it's really, to me, yes, it's a big component, but yet it's also just, I'm going to use a little pun here, maybe that doesn't fit, but it's like a small piece of the pie. The mindset to me is actually probably the biggest component, because as I alluded to before, when this happens, like the things you're talking about, it becomes a catalyst for changing other areas of your life. You become more confident. You have more energy. Your thoughts are clear. You have clarity about goals. You're just more invigorated, and you're excited to start looking at other areas of your life, because we're holistic beings. We're not just our body. We're not just what we do for a living. We're not just a mom or a friend or a daughter or a sister or whatever, or a husband or, a son. We're holistic beings. And so to me, that's what I love about this, is that, yes, I'm helping them with a physical piece in the beginning in most cases. Like I said, some of it is, sometimes it's somebody who's like really doesn't need to shed weight, but they're just saying, I don't feel like I have my health in check, and I want some healthy habits, and I want to change how I think about things, or I know that I eat emotionally or whatever. So it's those things that I actually love the most, kind of digging in and figuring out what's going on for people, what even got you to this point, and how do we let it never happen again? How do we stop that trajectory from happening again? And it just, eventually it becomes ingrained in you, but that's a lot of work. It's the mind work. And I really think, once we clear our minds and we know what we're really capable of, and we have the confidence to start taking the actions to make those things happen, it's way bigger than just this one piece of your life of, oh, I've got to drop some weight. It's like, I feel good now. And, I'm just not as happy at my job as I thought I was. And people really literally start to reflect on their entire lives and shift things. And that's the part that, frankly, I love the most, because it starts with the weight piece, but it goes so much further.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how much of the coaching that you do has been influenced by the program that you chose to use and that you still use, and how much of it was or is influenced by the coaching program you went to, or advanced training that you've had sort of in the more traditional life coaching realm.
I think that my coach training really enhances my ability to do the health coaching, because even though that's part of the structure of the nutrition piece of the program that I work with, the coaching is a big component of it anyway. But I think because I am already a certified life coach, and I've already done a lot of that work, and I've worked with people, and I was my first client, and I still am a client to myself every day. But I think that really, frankly, gives me the opportunity to really do some good work with people, maybe more than I would have been able to without that depth of knowledge and depth of experience and depth of understanding how, really, truly, how we think is how we create our lives, one way or the other. So having that background with the coach training program is a huge asset. And I really do think it brings a lot of value to the clients that I work with the nutrition piece. Did
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah. And, I think back to like, a part of your story and part of mine is like, I tried everything. I tried liquid diets. I tried the cayenne pepper and maple
Yeah.
syrup diet. I tried Weight Watchers. I tried everything. Um, and I found one program that allowed me to lose 115 pounds, but
Wow.
didn't it didn't do it all for me. Like there were things about it that just I either ended up not agreeing with or they weren't sustainable for me. And I found something now that really is like I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
It's so simple. It's working. Like I feel amazing. And I like that I think of you and you've like, I found this program and it really works for me. And I say, I've found something and it really works for me. And I have a friend, Stephanie, who is my second guest on Transforming Today show. She has a program. She's like, this really works for me.
Right.
And I love that. And there's a lot of programs like Weight Watchers or Jen Craig's and it works
Sure.
for them. And so like, I'm wondering, do you have any insight on maybe why there are a lot of programs out there, but sometimes it doesn't work for one person. Sometimes it does work for another person. Sometimes you have to try it twice in order for it to work. Like, what are your thoughts on how we have all these different programs, but it really comes down to customizing it to the person?
Well, I think again, you said the word is, can you sustain it? So look, certain people are going to, certain things and certain methodologies are going to appeal to certain people. So maybe somebody needs a lot of structure. And so a program that has a lot of structure is really going to work for them. Maybe somebody else feels like I can't be told what to do and what time I need to eat every day, so that'll work for somebody else. The question is, what will sustain you? And really, truly, are you sustaining whatever those habits are? And again, but it's habits, but it's mindset too. It's like, if you don't say, I'm going to continue this, and I'm always going to be conscious about my choices with my health, with my food, with whatever it is, really, then it probably won't sustain itself. So for the things that we've all tried and they didn't work, was there really a real true foundation that was going to help you once you actually reached your goal and felt good? Or were you just going to go back to those old habits and make those old choices again? So I think it's partially what resonates with anybody at any given time and whether they're willing to keep going with it. Even if they don't have to lose any more weight, you have to keep it off. That's the real work. And that real work in my mind is in the mind. It's in here. The physical stuff, I think anybody can actually, almost anybody, certainly there's always exceptions because of something going on with somebody, but I really do believe most people, if they do certain things, they can lose weight. The question is, can they keep it off? And will they put themselves into a position of really thinking about longevity, not just about, oh, I have to lose 10 pounds now or 50 pounds now, or even 100 pounds now. It's like, how will I live a longer life? How will I live a quality longer life? And that's the part that I love about what I'm doing, because that's the stuff I'm working on with people too. It's not just about get you to your goal and see ya. It's like, wait a minute, let's keep you here. And what other areas can we work on that will move you forward even more in your life and just make that life a big, bold life that we all deserve to live?
Yeah. And I think like the word that was ringing in my head is commitment, because I never realized how much commitment matters. Like I could commit to a short-term diet where if I need to lose 10 pounds, I'll commit to losing that 10 pounds. But then it's like, well, what happens after that? Like, or I would do a certain diet that would allow me to lose weight faster. But then it's like, okay, well, how do I switch to maintenance? And I would always crash and burn there. Right.
Right.
Like the reason why I feel very confident about what I'm doing right now is because I went through this intake process that was almost militant as far as commitment, and me, like I had to sign documents to myself though. Like
Yeah.
that's what I felt was the problem. Like I never like I could commit to someone else, but if that person went away or they didn't care anymore or something happened where I couldn't rely on that person, my commitment seemed to go out the window and everything fell apart. But this was the first time that I actually committed to myself. I asked my husband, hey, I need to do this with you. Like, you need to really support me here in order for this
Yes.
to actually be our life. And he stepped up to the plate, and he's like, he has certain modifications with what he's doing, but we both committed to each other. We committed to ourselves. We committed to the coach that we're working with, and it's working.
That's right.
I can do this for the rest of my life, and I feel like I'm doing it with ease. And so when you work with your clients, like what does that commitment level look like? How does commitment factor into the relationship that you have with your client?
And I love that you brought this whole topic up, because and I'm sure many people have heard this before. It's like, are you committed, or, are you interested, or are you committed? And the commitment is it's such a key. And you know what, if you're not keeping your commitments to yourself, you're just talking. You're not doing anything in the end, because you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But then, if you just go back to the old stuff, you didn't actually really follow through with the commitment, and I have a whole kind of system with literally, you talked about something that made me think about it. Now I forget what it was exactly, but it was something where, it's like really focusing on, you said you had to sign, that's what it was. You had to sign papers and commit to yourself. I have a whole system and like literally a workbook for you to go through and really start doing that mental and emotional work to figuring out, what is it that I want? What is my why?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I doing this? How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel compared to what I feel today? And it's like working on that stuff and committing to it, sticking with it, and following through to yourself. Really it's about following through to yourself more than anybody else. And the support you brought up is critical too. And that is something that sometimes, I have to work with people because they unfortunately don't have. I also have a very supportive husband and family who, understands this. And, we're supporting each other. My husband's on his own journey with health and things like that too. And we support each other. There was a time where it was only me doing it, and it didn't quite resonate with him, and he couldn't understand, we have to make these changes to the dinners and things like that. And it was a struggle. But then once he got on board with his own journey and his own commitment to himself, it works so beautifully, like you and your husband, because you're committed to yourselves as individuals. You're committing to supporting each other in your goals, and that support system is really critical. But, if you're just interested in dropping a few pounds or dropping 100 pounds or whatever it is that you need to or want to, but you're not actually committed to doing the work and then ingraining it. I mean, that's why I say I'm a health and lifestyle coach. This is not sort of like a magic bullet type of thing. Like we do this once and we're done. This is just a lifestyle. I hate using the word diet. My clients will, especially in the beginning, they'll say, oh, and you have me on this diet. And I'm like, can I politely correct you and say, this is actually not a diet. This is a lifestyle, and it's a mindset, and it's a system of habits, and if you can commit to that, and it becomes, like I said, and you alluded to it also, it's sort of automatic once you get used to it. And, and then you just feel so good. You're like, why would I go back? Why would I, and I'm not saying you can never, enjoy things like a piece of cake on your birthday or whatever. It's nothing like that. But it's like looking at what you were doing that got you where you had been, and then what to do now, and like, what choice will you make? You just sort of stop yourself and you kind of put yourself into a mindset and, make a conscious choice. How does this relate to what I really want, my why, and how I want to feel and what I want to achieve, with my life? How will it get me closer to that or further from that?
It's interesting that you brought up the cake, and that word comes up like almost every single episode. It's really
So funny.
like, it's my that's like my arch nemesis. Like, cake for me sets me off, and it can, like, the last time I had cake, after eating well for a long time and losing that 115 pounds, I chose to have cake. And for 3 years, I kept
Mm,
eating cake.
yeah.
So for me, I cannot have sugar or flour in any kind of form at all. I just can't, because something with my biology gets triggered, and I can't stop eating it until like something severe happens, and I break that mindset, and I say, this is like going really down the wrong path.
Hmm.
I have to do something drastic to like stop it. But everybody's different in that way, where when you say, like before, it would be like, oh, well, I'm not saying you can't have cake on your birthday. Like, to me, before, when I was eating cake, it was like I couldn't picture my life without eating cake. Like, I was struggling to try to find every way that I could to still be able to eat that cake, but still lose weight and still not be insane from all the sugar in my brain and body. And today it's like the cake doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, it's lost its power. It doesn't have any meaning like it did before. And it's like the same thing as this cell phone right here. Like, it's just, it doesn't hold any power over me. And I'm okay with not eating it ever again.
And that's the shift, and that's the work and the mindset and all that stuff that I keep talking about, because that's the power of this. And like I said, pretty much anybody can go on, a plan and say, here's what you're supposed to do. But if you don't do this inner work and figure out why that, I know that some of it sounds like it was biological and physiological with the sugar and things like that, for your body. But some of it sounds to me like there was some emotional component to it, or something triggering something else that wanted you to do it. And now you're like, you've done that work, whatever it was, to get you to where it's this, and not a piece. It's like, oh, what, all these messages. It's not, it's nothing that has power or energy over you. It's just a piece of cake. And you realize, like, you feel so good now. And congratulations, by the way, for amazing accomplishment of that 115 pounds. That's incredible. And you have, put years on your life by doing that, and just the quality of your life now and in the future. And it's just like, so it's like, it's not worth getting back into that vicious cycle of 3 years of cake, but that's hard mind work, that's where the difference comes in, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm wondering about that. Like, you mentioned like almost like an intake form, or like a questionnaire that you have your clients go through, like right when they're starting with you. Is that right?
I do a health assessment with them, and it's not like I'm a doctor or something, like, not that one of those kind of things, but just to get an idea of sort of where they are with certain habits and certain factors that do really have an influence on a healthy life. Things like, yes, your eating habits, your sleep, how you're sleeping, your activity level and your emotion, your stress level, your energy levels, things like that. So I talk to them about things like that. But it actually, there's a book and a workbook that I use. It teaches you a lot of the science behind the nutrition component, but so much more is actually about this mindset stuff and the habits, and really digging into, and it gets pretty technical sometimes. You don't always have to, do that, but it talks about structural tension, about, when you're making a choice and you're weighing things out, whether it's conscious or subconscious and things like that. So there's a lot of deep work you can do. I don't necessarily go that deep with everybody. Somebody has to really be receptive to that level. But there's an entire book and workbook of exercises that you can do, and we can work on together if some people like to do that together with me, to really dig into what's been going on for them all this time that led them to this point, and how to never go back. And again, it's not just going back with, adding the weight back, but it's going back with like how you think and just how you literally show up in your life.
Yeah, I love that you're doing that work with people, because that the why behind it, like you talked about, and those emotional questions, and also the kind of technical stuff that you talked about, like I've always described like this certain voice in my head or like outside of my head. I've always called it like the marketer. And
Mm.
it's sort of like this voice, like when I'm eating foods I'm not supposed to be eating, it's like dancing. It's almost like entertaining me, like the entertaining marketer who's like, oh, you totally want that cake. Like, you do. It's so delicious. Like, it's your favorite cake. You just have to go right across the street. It's right there. Like, and it's like, hello, my baby. Like, it's there. Like, it doesn't shut up. And so it's interesting when you're talking about this conscious and subconscious, because like this was a component in my head that would not go away. I felt like it was even there in my dreams.
Hmm.
And then when I did stop eating the sugar and the flour, it like went away.
It's
Like,
amazing.
it just is not there anymore. So when you work with your clients, do they ever describe something similar to that, where they have like thoughts that are like drawing them into foods that they know aren't right for them?
Oh, sure. And then we're going to dig into like what's the trigger, what's really going on with this. And in some cases, yes, like it sounds like there's definitely, like I said earlier, a physiological component to it. I mean, your body is telling you not to eat it, but there's something in your mind that's drawing you toward it. And maybe it's like creating memories from your childhood that you want to, relive, or whatever. It could be anything for anybody. But it's like, how do you replace that with something that's healthier for your body and for you? Because what it's going to do to you. And it's like things are going to, I mean, I could hear the spinning almost. I can visualize the whole eating that first piece and then the 3-year spin. So it's like, how do we dig into what's really going on with that cake, and the marketer telling you, what is that marketer? Who is that? What is that voice? What are they really saying to you? And what is it, it might be making you want to sabotage yourself from something else. So we're going to start digging. We're going to start digging like that.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting because around the same time it went away, I realized that I had a lot of manipulative people in my life, and they were like sheep in wolf's clothing, or the opposite, wolf and sheep's
yeah,
clothing.
I think, I'm not sure, but I think that makes more sense, at
Yeah,
least in this moment.
and it was like it all kind of like hit me at once, and that's like the power of coaching, because I was doing a lot of different types of coaching. Like, I had like 4 different coaches doing different things for me, but somehow like moving down here to Florida gave me this opportunity to like, it was almost like a life retreat away from my life, to give me a completely new perspective on myself, and for Jason too, for my husband too, like for everything that we were involved in. And I just figured certain things out that I probably would have taken me longer, maybe never figured out, if I just kind of like stayed in my normal path or my normal life. And so you're so right when you're talking about like this, like it isn't about the weight. Like, people come to you because that's their pain point, but
Right.
really it's just kind of like something that, even like, it's nice to see the number go down. It's like, yay, make sure we celebrate that number going down. Like,
Absolutely.
yes, but like to be able to wake up and like walk without, not getting out of breath, or to be able to run up and down the stairs with not taking 5 minutes to like slow your body down, and like, you know what I mean? Or just like looking different in clothes, like a lot of that kind of stuff, like especially there might be people who have never experienced that before. And I've talked about this on the show before, like this concept of an absent positive, something that you can only imagine would be
Right.
awesome, but you've never really experienced it before, or felt it or touched it or whatever it is. And so when you have clients that come to you and they say, look, I've never been thin. The last time I was thin, I was 8 years old, and I
Yeah.
really can't remember what that was like. Like, how are you helping them first, like set these goals in their mind that are not based on weight, are based on either feeling or experience,
That's
and
what it is.
also celebrate them once they are achieving it?
Yeah. And that's kind of literally the process. It's like, okay. And I think I alluded to it in the very beginning of just like, that's why I kind of think that just they come to me with this initial issue saying, hey, I know you can help with this. But, you know, what I really want to dig into is, yes, I want to help them with that because that's the primary goal to begin. But in the beginning, I have people sit down if they're willing to do the work and say, like, again, it's the why. It's one small little word, but I want people to really sit with themselves and meditate on that. I don't mean literally, you don't have to, you know, be in an ashram or something, but really, really reflect. And if they're so willing to journal and to write down their whys, and the more crystal clear they can visualize it and describe why they're doing it and how they want to feel. It's also about feeling. You know, it's not necessarily about like, I want to be 102 pounds. It's like, no, how do I want to feel? I want to feel free to just dance at a concert. I want to feel free to go running on the beach when my kids are running on the beach. I want to feel, you know, it could be, I mean, this is just an example. I mean, there's so many different things that people want, but you know, it's like, in a way, they don't want that number on the scale. You know, they don't want to go from 250 to 180 to just have that number that they can say. They want to be doing other things with that difference, you know, in their life, with their families, with their friends, with the hobbies they want to do that they couldn't do before, whatever it is, you know. And so we're doing that inner work while we're also doing the nutrition piece. So it's a lot at once. It's a lot at once, but that's what sustains it, you know. So we're integrating new habits, but we're also doing a lot of that inside work. You know, happiness is an inside job, right? You know, and so we think it's all about the outside or the number on the scale, but that is almost minor. I mean, it's a big part. Yes. Look, there are people literally with diseases and I'm getting them off of medication, you know, and things like that. I'm not a doctor, but I'm saying that's the result. Doctors love this. Doctors love, they're working on their health and they have a health coach, and then, you know, things are changing. You know, but it really is, now not everybody's willing to do it. Some people are like, they're going to be like, I just want to get started. Teach me how to do this. Tell me what I'm supposed to be doing that's going to make it work and make that scale go down. And then I start to find that somebody who resists that inner work in the beginning, they come on board later with it because they're like, wow, I really do feel good. And all right, now I want to dig into some stuff because I want to sustain this. I don't want to go backwards. I can't go back. So how do I do that? And then I'll say, okay, all right, maybe now you're ready to figure out, okay, are you willing to commit, you know, to continuing this? And let's talk about that why, and let's talk about those feelings, and let's talk about what you really want to experience. Not that you just want to get on the scale Monday morning and tell me your number, you know, because that's not all of it. That's not all of it. And you know what, for somebody who it is all of it, they're gonna go back. In most cases. I don't have a lot of that, thankfully. But it can happen. It can happen. And then they usually come back and say, all right, I'm willing to do it this time. What do I have to do? Let's start over. You know, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
So you know how I know that you're like meant to do this? This is your purpose?
Oh, tell me.
Your aura right now, I don't know if viewers you can see this, but like it is like you have like a like your first sort of layer around you is like bright white and it's about this thick. And then you have other layers that are kind of like resonating off of that.
Oh, wow.
Like other forms of like white and yellow that are like coming off. I don't know if anyone else will be able to see it, but it's like when you're talking, it's just like it's glowing like this around you.
That is great. And I would make a joke about like, maybe it's one of those gray hairs that I didn't get rid of, but no, I'm in all seriousness. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah, I get pretty passionate about this stuff. Have you noticed? Because again, like somebody gave me this gift, and I gave it to myself too, by the way. Like, yes, my sister-in-law introduced me to this methodology and this whole program that I now work with, and all of that. But I gave the gift to myself because I invested in myself and did the work and committed to it and stuck with it, and you know, did everything with transitioning and maintenance and all that. And I do it every day. It's in my mind every day. And it's not worth going backwards. But yeah, I get pretty passionate. I do, because I feel like I got the gift of my life back. And if I can do that for others who are really, you said pain, people are in pain over this. I mean, I used to say I felt like I was in fat prison. Um, and that sounds, I don't know how that sounds, but that is how I felt. And I'm really, it's like not a joke. I mean, there were things I didn't do. I talked before about how I'm, doing the assistant training at the coach training program, like associate training coach, they call it. And for a while, I didn't even want to entertain that because this was, again, a mental thing. I was like, I can't get up in front of a classroom looking like this. Nobody's going to want to believe me. No, I mean, I had to do that. I had a lot of work to do. I had a lot of work to do. So if I can give this gift of not feeling that way anymore and releasing myself from those chains and that prison feeling, I'm going to spend every day doing it. And, I'm going to I'm so devoted to working with people to help them, if they're willing to do the work with me, right? Or a story, again, like my sister-in-law, there's many other stories like that with people with these pretty serious diseases and illnesses who have these incredible stories to tell of how this changed their entire world and reversed the health conditions they were battling.
Yeah. So like this work that you've done and your sister-in-law has done and all your clients have done and the people in this program, this is something to really be celebrated. Like
Yes.
any achievement is something that needs to be celebrated. And I talk about this with my viewers all the time. Like I did not start celebrating myself until just a couple years ago. And that was because of my husband. He took me to a motivational seminar and the guy up on the stage was like dancing. He called it astitude. And he
I
was
love
like
it.
shaking his ass. And it was like he was patting himself on the back and hugging himself. And
Great.
like it just hit me in the right way. And I just realized my whole life I never, like I had other people celebrating me, but I never really did that for myself. And I'm wondering, like, how are you currently celebrating yourself and how do you help your clients celebrate themselves?
It's about, I think it comes down to that being aware and the consciousness piece. Because I really do notice, okay, so for myself, I'll be doing whatever and I'll be like, wow, I couldn't have done that a year ago, or like I think I alluded to before, like one of the things my husband and I just love doing is going to live music. We go to a lot of concerts, and actually for a while I couldn't because of my health. It wasn't because of my weight per se, but actually even that made it uncomfortable. I hate to say it, but I was uncomfortable in whatever I could piece together. Not that I dress up for a concert, but just my jeans didn't even fit, or that T-shirt I bought at last year's concert didn't fit, or whatever. That's one part of it. But my joints hurt to dance. I had trouble breathing, whatever it was. So I'll notice things like that where, we just had a big concert run for the summer and I'm like, oh my God, like 2 years ago, I couldn't have done a night like that 4 nights in a row at the age of 50. Hello. Like I literally like talk to myself like that. And sometimes I'll say it out loud to my husband too. Like, I'm pretty awesome. I'm pretty rocking for 50 years old because I am celebrating. I'm celebrating that I felt like I had become much older for my age for a period of probably 3 years or so. And now I'm celebrating. So I'm living. Like I celebrate by embracing and living and doing every fun thing I can get my hands around or my schedule around to do. And then with my clients, I really, it's funny, like they'll weigh in weekly, and then we'll have a call and whatever. And, I almost don't really talk about that scale number very much. I say, how are you feeling? Tell me some of your wins of the week this week. I also want to make sure I talk about their challenges because I want to know what obstacles they're facing and how they can help them navigate through them. But I'm like, let's celebrate this and let's look at that. And non-scale victory, that's a big, big word. It's a few words, but it's a big phrase. I want to hear the non-scale victories and let's celebrate that. And wow, did you think 6 months ago you'd be telling me that? Kudos to you. I mean, I'm a cheerleader and I was not actually a cheerleader in high school. People think I was, but I wasn't. But it's about that. It's about celebrating the fact that you invested in yourself and your health. And it's really also the people around you who benefit from it, not just you, because you show up differently when you feel good and your health is in a good place. You just do.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Like, everything seems to click. And it's, you guys all know this, like I'm an intuition coach. So for me, like when I don't have my mental, emotional, and physical, my inner dimensions
Yeah.
balanced and feeling good and sort of like at their 100%, it's hard to find that inner power. And you can be as connected as you want to your outer power, whatever that looks like for you. But if you're not fully present, stepping into your inner power, it's very hard to like make a true connection with your outer. And the work that I do, or the philosophy that I have, is intuition is when your inner power and outer power are coming together to power your life.
I love that.
If things are missing, like if my physical was really impaired, because I just wasn't feeling good in my body, and my mind, because of the sugar, it was like, it was depleting my mental sort of component. And then emotionally, I'm like beating myself up because I should feel better. Right. So everything was like kind of, now my intuition is strong anyway, but until I really started looking at this and I started changing my eating habits, it seemed like everything like pivoted around me putting down that flour and sugar. My spirituality is extremely strong, and it has been maybe for about the last 5 years. But it was interesting because I almost feel like my spirituality was trying to overcompensate for the lack that I was experiencing in my inner dimension. And it wasn't totally balanced. So now I'm showing up differently. My clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience is so strong that it's just everything is in that flow. And we
Right.
talk about sort of life flow a lot, but to me, that life flow and intuition, they're almost interchangeable. And when it's balanced and it's strong and it's consistent, like that's really where I believe you can manifest anything that you want in life. And
Yes.
I'm not sure if any of this kind of resonates with you. I'm
Oh
sort of
yeah.
sharing my own philosophies and how I live my life, but that is the reason why, like, that physical component, if it's shut down because you're not feeling well, or you're not like fueling your body appropriately, or you have health issues that are kind of creating blockages, it's a big deal. And it
It's
makes
a
complete
big deal.
to once you start repairing that everything else in your inner dimension will start firing off in a different way. And then that connection, if you're open to it, that spiritual connection, it just aids your life and all the things that you basically can't control, right?
I love every word that you just said, because it's sort of like what I said earlier, like where we're holistic beings. So it's not just that physical thing of, get to an optimal weight or whatever it is. It's like they are so interconnected. And so everything you just spoke about is so true. And that's why I keep talking about mindset, clarity of mind and all that, because it's so tied in together. And so, yes, you might start off with the physical part, and that's when you get that balance, but it is amazing. And that's also where I keep the phrase, the word catalyst keeps coming into my head when I talk about this, because this kind of balancing that physical and getting to a much, more comfortable, healthy, balanced, optimal physical health, is a catalyst for all these other things you just talked about in the other pieces of you, the other parts of your life, the other parts of your being. And, that's where you start to really step into action. And it's amazing what unfolds in your life, when you just feel that power come back. But they're tied together. They kind of have to be done in tandem. I really believe. I don't think you can isolate them. I
Yeah,
think they really have to be
I
done in
totally
tandem.
agree. And I love that, we've mostly talked about this like during our time together, because it's like you have talked all about needing to support that. It's not just the physical, it like you've talked the whole time about supporting them on an emotional and a mental level as well.
Yeah.
And I want to know a little bit more specifically about what the program that you do looks like. Like, tell us the name and tell us if there are different components to it, or like just give us an overview of what that snapshot looks like for the program you do.
I'm part of a health, an organization of health coaches called Healthy Living. And we work with a program that has a nutrition component as the kind of one of the foundations. I call them pillars, actually. There's kind of 4 pillars. So the nutrition part is that, and I have to talk to each person individually first and I talked about that health assessment that I do. It's a brief, set of questions just for me to get a picture of their current reality with regard to their health and those other factors that we talked about. And I can then, so I want to always talk with somebody. And I want to find out exactly what their goals are, what their needs are, what their current reality is with habits and sleep and activity. That's a big one. And depending on the answers to those types of questions, I then say, okay, sounds to me like the best plan for you is, I'll put you on a program where, because we do work with meal replacements, where they're doing meal replacements a certain amount a day. Most people, though, it'll be, they'll do 5 a day, and then they prepare their own meal, which entails just, healthy protein and non-starchy vegetables, things like that. So I really guide them through that nutrition part of it. First, that's one pillar. Another pillar is the coaching. Big part of the success, I think. If I do say so myself, but I experienced it on the receiving end, so I know for sure. But it's the coaching, and it's that work I keep talking about that is so important. There's another pillar, which is this habits of health. And it's like a whole set of habits that you really take on and start to do. And even if somebody doesn't do this program, I want to teach that to them anyway. In other words, I'm going to walk away from a phone call and they say, I'm not sure I want to do this or whatever. I'm like, if you do nothing, just take away a few of these things that, I'm going to teach you right here in this phone call, but it's a very, very comprehensive system of really habitualizing yourself, again, not just physically with what to do and put in your mouth and what time to do it and how much water to drink and all that, but it's like habitually thinking in certain patterns in certain ways, being kind to yourself, just all that kind of stuff. And then we actually have also a whole community pillar. It's this huge community of support where people help each other. There's a big Facebook group that everybody can be a member of. It has recipes. There's all kinds of amazing recipes, by the way. There's people are saying, hey, I'm struggling today with XYZ. What have you done when, that happened to you? And you'll have 25 people just write their advice. And, we have our coaches always jump in and things like that. We have weekly phone calls, group calls, community calls, where there's usually, we start off with somebody telling their story of how they got into this and their health journey. And then there's an education component to it. 1 week might be about emotional eating, or this summer we did a call about, it's vacation time. How do you navigate this, but yet stay true to your commitment to yourself? Things like that. It can be anything like that. So there's these 4 pillars that I think are the reasons that make this whole thing work, and that it's sustainable, and that, it's not just hey, lose some weight, whatever it is that you need to lose, and then move on with your life. It's this is your life. And these things, and this is, people have been doing this for years, and people still get on those weekly calls and, they're like, yeah, I've been in this community for, 6 years and I'm still at my optimal weight. And, but it keeps them coming because it literally becomes a family. Mm-hmm. So it's great, so that's what it is. And, if somebody's interested in talking more to me about this, again, because I'm really a huge believer in an actual connection, a personal one-on-one connection. So, reach out to me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook, send me a private message. We'll trade phone numbers, or we'll do a Zoom or whatever it is, and we'll connect with each other. I just want to hear about you and your goals and how I can help you and how I can help you feel the way I do and give the gift to you that was given to me. So that's kind of, how I would describe it. That's very high level. It's those 4 pillars. So it's the nutrition piece, the coaching piece, the community piece, the education, and, system of habits piece. Does that clarify a little bit?
It certainly does. I love
All
it.
right.
Look, you beat me to it. I was going to ask you how people
Sorry.
get in contact with you, and you
I
gave
thought
it.
that was sort of part of it. Yeah. I don't know how I got there too quickly,
So
but
they would just type in your name into Facebook and you would come up. Is that the way they find you?
yeah, yeah, that's a good way to do it. I mean, I'm posting a lot of, I like to add value. So I post inspirational type of things and I post recipes and I show stories of clients and things like that. So now my name is a little tricky. I always say my parents spelled it wrong when I was born. But it's Ronnie spelled Ronne. And my last name is Ozgu, Ozgu. So yeah, people can do that. They can also write to me by email. That's also fine because what I like to do is connect with the person and then customize a plan for them. So I don't have just, a cookie cutter thing for everybody. Because it depends on what their goals are and what their needs are and what's going on for them.
I love that word, customized. I think it's my favorite word ever, probably. I don't know. I totally agree with you. Like it, like, even when we go to Chipotle or something, it's like they ask us what we want. And even when we say what we want, we say, oh, can I have a little more or just a little less? It's like we can really customize like anything in our lives. And I'm actually writing a book about that. That's a large component,
Oh, cool.
book I'm writing about. And the whole premise is it's an and, right? So like you can take a little bit of this, you can take a little bit of that, you can leave that out, you can do whatever you want, but you customize it and it becomes like your
Right.
like
Oh, I love that.
pieces. So that's in the works, folks. I don't know when, but anyway,
Oh,
so
I can't wait for that. Yeah, no, my nickname around here is Sally because of When Harry Met Sally and the everything on the side and the custom. Boy,
movie.
oh boy, that is me to a T. I'm always polite.
Also me to a T. Like I could, if my purse was right here, I would show you. We go to this one restaurant a lot, and so I write down. I've literally written down on an index card my entire order. Know this,
Love
know
it.
this, sub that, and I laminated it, and I just like hand it to the
Oh
server.
my God, I so love that. You are such a girl after my own heart. Yeah, I mean, it's like I have to, even if we call, get takeout or something, like I have to write it down. And my husband's like, can you just do the order? Because like I don't understand all this, I'm like,
Yep.
hey,
And,
I'm honoring myself and what I want to put in my body. I'm going to be
yep,
customizing it.
yep. And God bless our husbands for
Oh, you got that right.
So anyway, well, Ronnie, I really want to thank you for being here. It has like been my pleasure to have you, and I just wanted to thank you again.
Well, Rebecca, I want to thank you. This has been awesome. And thank you for asking me to share, what I'm doing to hopefully give this gift to as many people as I can. And it's just been so great to see you. And I'm so excited about all your endeavors too. So I can't wait to hear about that book and everything else you have going on. And it's been an honor. It's been an honor to spend this time with you. What a gift. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. And I want to thank our viewers. Guys, I mean, we were both pretty energized on this interview. So I know you guys are feeling it at home. And if you are struggling and you feel like you've tried everything or, you're just ready for the next adventure with your own health or whether it is going to start with weight loss. I mean, Ronnie just has really been very open and transparent about, how she has been able to change her life and how she just loves changing other people's lives. So if you want your life changed, reach out to Ronnie. She's going to do it for you. And hope you guys enjoyed it. And that's it for us. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right, let's make sure hair and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way it's only, oh yeah, I probably just made it worse. It's just frizzy. It is what it is.
There's like one strand right here. No, right here.
Me or you?
Me. I'm like,
Oh.
oh, it's more up here.